Gen Z is sometimes
Scary,
afraid to call
I don't
people.
like
Yes, it is
But
very
like
bad.
literally, these are these people's jobs.
Welcome back everyone in our new episode of the podcast. I am here with two bilingual teachers, Adam and Amber, and we are going to talk about their roles as guidance counselors regarding students studying abroad. So let's begin with why you guys were chosen for these roles and what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I taught 12th graders last year, and I found that I was meeting with them on a weekly basis, and they were very stressed about studying abroad. And so I realized there was not a lot of time within the week to meet with them, but it was a huge need. And so we talked to some of our managers about what that could look like to be part of like the program. And so, yes.
Yeah. So, well, the guidance counselor role that we have is a new thing for the school and a new thing for bilingual. But you know, as Amber said, we saw that a lot of our students, as they were finishing their high school journey, they weren't quite sure what was coming up for them, and so I think what we really wanted to do is to better inform them of the opportunities that they have after high school, and alongside university studies or even the working world outside of university as well. That was really our goal, and I think so far it's been quite productive, especially with our 11th graders as well, because they're going into their last year. And yeah, that's our role.
And so you guys had an interesting journey of life regarding studying abroad. So could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I went to an international school in America. So even though I was American, I wasn't studying in a different country. All my teachers were international, had taught abroad, and then a lot of my classmates were from different cultures. And so I graduated with the International Baccalaureate diploma.
Isn't that the one that's so hard?
Yeah. That one. And so people do that diploma so that they can do university abroad. Like that's usually kind of the focus. And then I went to college during COVID, which was kind of a bummer. So I wasn't able to study abroad as much as I wanted. But I ended up being a resident assistant at my university in America in an international dorm. And so a bunch of the girls that I lived alongside were from Central America mostly. And so I was able to just like learn from their experiences and like, what a student goes through during those years of their lives. And so then I graduated university, and then I was like, I need to get out. I'm ready to go. And so I applied for this job and I got it. So now I'm here.
And the IB so do students do that because it's more internationally accepted than, for example, an érettségi here in Hungary?
Yeah, that's usually the focus because a lot of those type of students are traveling with their parents. They might be like business kids, and so the focus is that if they do 4 years in El Salvador and then they have to move to Canada, then they would be able to pick up with the curriculum and like not have to transition as much.
I see. Yeah. And you, Adam?
Yeah, so my education was entirely in Europe as it goes. So my primary school, high school were in Northern Ireland, which is in the UK. So it's a British education, if you will. So yeah, from high school, I went to university also in Northern Ireland in Belfast. And I had the opportunity not just to study the subjects that I wanted. I studied chemistry with a minor in French because I'm a scientist, but I'm very interested in languages. So whenever I went to university, and it was alongside university that I was able to be involved in some very interesting study and work programs. So in the summer of my second year at university, I was an au pair in Perpignan, which is in the south of France. So an au pair is basically like you can think of it like being a nanny of as sorts, but the idea is that, well, the word au pair means like social equal. So you live with the family, you're treated very well, and of course you have responsibilities with the family, but you know you're getting paid, and when you do this kind of program in France, you study French as well at a university. So I did a summer language course, which involved a lot of interesting, not just language learning, but we went on trips all the time, you know, to not just to the beach, but to interesting mountain villages and places like that. So that's something, you know, an atypical or not so typical thing that I did with my university studies. I also did a summer work abroad program in the U.S. in Connecticut beside New York during my third year of university in the summertime. And of course, you know, I was working in America and got to travel, and as well as, you know, doing my job there. Then I did a year abroad. I studied at the Sorbonne, also in Paris, in France. And of course, that's actually where I got into teaching and language teaching in the first case. So after I finished with my degree, you know, I realized that I wanted to continue with teaching, and I also thought that Europe was a great place to be. And so almost immediately after finishing my university studies, I started to work as a teacher here in Hungary. And here I am, I suppose.
For me, like the au pair experience, my mom did a year of au pair or something somewhere in America, New Jersey, I believe.
Yeah, it's very popular in the Northeast. So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Yeah, and she also really liked it. So that's, I think, an interesting experience that students after graduation can try, or during even the college. Or the summer. And now I would like to talk to you about, guys, a bit about why do you think students are disinterested in studying abroad, because in the recent years it has grown really greatly, I think. So I would just like to hear your opinions on that.
Yeah, I think before it looked like unattainable, and now there's like so many resources and things are a little bit more cheaper, or there's different like avenues you can go about it. And so I think, you know, that's become more popular, and like the increase of English, you know, people speaking as their second language, then the world kind of opens up for them to go to different places.
Well, I think, you know, I think a really big advantage being in Hungary is, of course, being in the European Union. There's a lot of investment in study abroad programs and work abroad programs. And I think it's become almost normalized if you study at university in Europe, that you do some kind of a study abroad program, right? And I think that's really wonderful, because it's not quite like that in other parts of the world. So I think, you know, we're very privileged to be able to do that. But it's not just Europe, right? Because, you know, we've, as a European myself, I was able to, you know, get some experience abroad outside of Europe too, and I think the world's getting smaller and smaller. You know, so.
But in America, do they have these kind of like exchange programs, or I don't know how to call them?
Yeah, I think at the high school level, it's not as common. You really have to like kind of have that as a goal, and like, you know, really network to find that, I would say. But at the university level, I would say it's very common. I was an education major. A lot of my friends did like a semester in Korea, a semester in Central America, and different things like that. And so, I think the difference I've seen is in Europe, it tends to be recommended at a younger age.
Yeah, for example, in this school we have the Erasmus Plus programs, especially this year. It has been more popularized, but even in the college years there is still Erasmus, and that's a bit different than these ones here in high school. But So what do you think are these, why do you think these exchange programs or these opportunities are good for the students? Even not just Erasmus, but like why, yeah.
Yeah, I think like even if, you grew up in Hungary and you want to live in Hungary, for the rest of your life, which is
That's absolutely
great,
that's-
absolutely fine. I think like when you're young, you don't have as many ties, and it's really good to be able to experience, even if it's just for a summer or a few weeks or a year or 2 years, like you won't always have this type of freedom unless you choose it later in life. And so I think, if you have the opportunity, and so much of it's being funded right now, like there's a lot of even free opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll never that opportunity doesn't come all the time. So take advantage of it, I would say.
Yeah, I think you hit a really important point there, Amber, that I think that a lot of the students aren't aware of not only the opportunities themselves, but the fact that there is so much funding coming from so many places to support students. And it's in almost any pathway or any direction they want to go into in further and higher education. So I think that's really something that we've tried to emphasize to the students, is to explore these opportunities, because that way they can plan a little bit better, and as for those who are continuing in education as well, they can make the most of it and really enrich their whole experience.
No, these fundings are really good, because I believe, as I was looking through colleges outside of Hungary, they cost like lots of money, and not just the colleges, but the dorms if you want to live there, or
Exactly.
even have an apartment. Like this is why I believe also that Erasmus is a great opportunity to go outside, experience the world, and yeah, basically that's it.
Yeah, and we always tell the students, like, the more specific or niche your interest is, sometimes the better. So like, you don't think someone would be interested in filmmaking in a random country, but they are. And so like you can like explore, hobbies or different interests that you have, because like usually there is some program out there for you. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah.
So as you said, guidance counseling is new to this school, and so could we go a bit deeper into that, and could you like explain your roles a bit more in depth?
Yeah, so like Adam and I were chosen for this because we kind of like balance each other out, like him being from like a European country and then me from North America. But then also I've been teaching English now for 3 years at this school, and kind of have an idea with teaching 11th and 12th graders about the requirements that universities are looking for, or even work abroad places are looking for. And so usually with the students, I focus on like the requirements and like essays and letter of recommendations, letter of motivation letter. I write the references. Yes. So just kind of all like the little things that they have to get through to even apply, and then focusing on just like the language aspect of that, and then Adam kind of has taken care of the other side of things.
Yeah, so I suppose one of the reasons why they chose me as one of the guidance counselors was because, well, I've been here for a few years, and I know all of the students in the bilingual classes very well. I think I've taught all of them at some stage over the past 3 years. So of course, having somebody that is, makes it easier for the students to, make I seem more approachable that way, I think. And because I think almost all of the students in the bilingual program are also European citizens, and I have first-hand experience with programs as a European, so I know how it works. I know what is expected from us, and I'm an Irish citizen, so I'm still an EU citizen, despite being Northern Irish. We kind of both, because yes, in the UK it's a little bit more complicated for work and study, more so than it used to be for Hungarians. But I know from a perspective as I guess as an EU citizen, and that way, if in terms of making applications or for particular programs, I can help with that.
Yeah, so as I understand it clearly, you are more focused on America, but you are also
more like the mechanics behind like what they're writing.
And the quality of English in their applications, and for tasks that focus quite heavily on written English.
But what would you say to students about studying abroad, and how are you able to support them, either with words or with actions?
Yeah, kind of like the message we've tried to share is like no matter where you're going, and even if it's not an English program, we still want to be really supportive. So we're not like trying to push them to go to a certain place, speak a certain language.
Exactly,
because it is a very stressful time in your life. Like there's a lot going on, and you're having to finish well here in high school, but then also be very much looking forward and be like 2 steps ahead. And so, of course, we have like certain experiences and advice that we can give, but then regardless of where they're going, we try to like just be encouraging. I try to kind of keep on deadlines a bit. That's also their responsibility. But, like, hey, it's February, you're in 11th grade, like what are some things that, should kind of be done, or what can you be looking forward to? What should you be doing this summer? So just kind of having, more than just their parents or a friend, but kind of be someone who has done it recently. We're both younger, obviously, and so someone who has like kind of completed it and settled with where they are in life, but then still much in that world of high school.
Yeah, and I think as Amber mentioned before, we don't have an agenda. We're not trying to push students into doing any particular thing. Even it's become a normal thing, even if you want to study, let's say at ELTE in Budapest, that you do some kind of exchange program, and we're able to help students to be informed on that. So even regardless of if they want to go to the other side of the world or if they want to stay locally, we can still help. We still have information that will be helpful to them, and we really encourage them to come to us with their ideas, and say, well, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, and then we can sit down with them and really think about it and make sure that they're well informed, about whatever it may be. And again, the finance side of it is a big deal. We want to make sure that they really understand, if you want to study here or study there, you've got to think about this, you've got to think about that. Just to make sure that they're not, surprised or shocked by anything that they didn't expect.
Yeah, and so reflecting back on what Amber said with the experiences, so how do you think your experiences come to hand doing this kind of work, helping students and stuff like that?
I would say like some students like even recently have been looking at different websites, and they're like, what's an ACT? And like, I'm like, well, that's a very like standardized test that Americans have to take, that also people in different countries, if they're going to an English-speaking program, will also have to take. And so I think, like, I remember having to go to tutoring sessions to get like a good score on my ACT. And so just being able to, I guess, sympathize a bit, but also like kind of understand the hoops they have to go through to, turn out a good application. And then we both have been here for a few years, and like I'm still in contact with some former students that might have taken a gap year and have had different things happen to them. And so you start to see kind of trends, and like we have a lot of students looking to the Netherlands, a lot to the UK, and then a few that are wanting to do like a camp experience in America. So you kind of start figuring out.
Did you Camp America or something like
exactly.
that?
That's the one.
So the I was with Camp Leaders, which is
Camp Leaders. It's the same.
It's basically the same. Camp America, Camp Leaders. So that program, which involves a J1 work and travel visa, a lot of the time they recruit specifically British, Irish, Hungarian, and Polish students.
Yeah.
So that's the exact same program that I grew up with
Uh-huh.
that they have here.
Yeah.
So I know exactly how those things work. I know all the steps of the application, and I think that's another big part of our job. As students who come to us and ask, oh, does this need translated? Where do I do this? How do I get this information? Who do I talk to? Where do I submit this? All of the fine details of an application, we can help out with that too. And that way we can make life a bit easier for the students so they don't get really stressed out. Oh, what do I do with this? With that,
Yeah, once time I was just looking over a website of whatever college or university, I don't really remember, and I was like, what is this? Oh my god, like.
Yeah,
But
it's overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But so this is my question personally, but what are these credits exactly? Because I think students see them everywhere, like credit this, credit that, but what do they mean? What are those what do they mean?
Yeah, like usually like GPA or credits.
Yeah.
Like
It's like the equivalency
Yeah.
system where they try to relate how good a grade is in one country to another.
Oh, okay.
So that way, because of course every different country has
it's a
their own
different
way
system.
of measuring and grading.
Yeah.
With that, this sort of universal system, they want to make it easier for other universities or other schools in different countries to understand better. Is this a really good grade? Is this just quite a good grade? Is this not
Because
such
like
a
we're
good
used
grade?
to 1 through 5 here, but then
Yeah.
that's not usually
Yeah.
what everyone else
Yeah,
uses.
exactly. In the UK,
So-
in the UK, they have A star at A levels or GCSEs. They have, A star, A, and B, and so on. And that also is tied to percentages a lot of the times. It scores out of 100, and it's in France it's out of 20. In Italy it's out of 30. Obviously in Hungary it's normally a 5.
Yeah.
So they need to bring in some kind of system to
Yeah.
better understand each other's grades. really.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's like a calculator on the actual website that they say, okay, put in what you've gotten as your grade,
Yeah.
and then we'll calculate, and this is what we understand you as having. And sometimes even like you go Google GPA. I mean, it
it's-
sounds
yeah,
weird,
it's-
but
It's
yeah.
true, but that's quite open. That information, the fact that they
Yeah.
want you to understand what this means.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times I've found students have had to have their grades translated or their degree translated into English. And then that's something that you can't necessarily do at home. You have
Yeah.
to pay some
Yeah.
money and have that translated.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, because if you do that all a week before your application is due, it's not gonna,
You're
it's not
pretty
gonna
stressed
happen.
out, yeah.
So that's why we're trying to move up the process so that it's less stressful.
Also, I wanted to ask you guys a question about what I've heard is that the Netherlands is filling up its students and there's not enough housing. So why do you think students choose the Netherlands so much?
That's a good question. So I think that the Netherlands has become a really popular choice for Europeans in general because they offer their courses in English in a lot of their universities. The tuition fees are very affordable, especially if you're from a different part of the EU, because there's extra subsidy. The fees are subsidized, I should say, by the EU. So it's a lot more affordable than many other places that have English tuition. Of course, the Netherlands it's in terms of being a hub of culture, especially in the big cities in the Netherlands. That makes it a really popular choice. It's very, very student friendly, let's say. But yeah, I think you mentioned there's a bit of a housing crisis. That's true, as there is in a lot of places, where I guess the affordability of the housing is a bit of an issue. But the good thing is that there are a lot of university-owned housing, let's say, options, be it in dorms or let's say, even apartments that are owned by the university that have affordable rent, specifically for students. So those kinds of things we can take advantage of. I know that whenever I was studying in Paris, because of my connection to the university, I was able to find affordable housing for the year. And you know, the universities, they take great care about making sure that their students are comfortable and can do their course. I suppose one other point for the Netherlands is that they allow students to also work alongside their studies, and I think that's obviously a very enriching experience for students, and they can earn a bit of money and, you know, get a better sense of what life is like in the Netherlands, because they're working there as well as studying there. So I think, you know, to be fair to that country in particular, they've done a very good job at attracting foreign students, and they deserve it.
Yeah, what you said about housing got me a little bit calmer, because I was actually thinking about the Netherlands. I was like, oh my God, how I'm going to solve the housing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, but that's another thing that's, you know, one of the reasons why me and Amber come in is because, you know, how would you know that they have supported student housing in the Netherlands if you aren't, you know, informed about it? And so that's why we want to do that. Because for a student to go by themselves and try to find something on their own would be very hard and more difficult to afford. So, you know, having this knowledge about the university's support that they can give you, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, so you said you were looking into the Netherlands. Is there like a certain place that you're interested in now?
Well, maybe I was looking at the Maastricht University. I think that's the best one, and my mom also studied there for a year. So
that's cool. Your mom was everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, she traveled the whole world.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was looking into, but I was also looking into Spain, into all kinds of European countries. Maybe America not so much, because it has a really high cost, but America is also a great choice if you want to go outside of Europe even. But
yeah, and well, another option for Europeans is you can do a year of study abroad with an American university, and because it's a student exchange, it's a lot more affordable, because the universities in the US and in Europe make agreements with each other. I know that my university also offered, it was actually called the Transatlantic Science Student Exchange Program, or TASIT for short, because I was studying chemistry. And it meant that I could go to Canadian or American universities for the same cost that it was in Northern Ireland.
yeah,
So it was no extra expense to me in terms of tuition. And that in the end, obviously I went to Paris, which is in Europe. But like these kinds of opportunities exist, and these kinds of agreements exist between European universities and universities around the world. So even if it's not a full degree in America, you could certainly go for a year and
You can always
afford it.
ask, like, when you're looking into the admissions process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always tell the students they can always call. I think Gen Z is sometimes
Scary.
afraid to call people.
I don't like
yes,
that.
it is
But
very
like,
bad.
literally, these are these people's jobs to answer the phone, and so you can always just call and say, "Hey, I'm curious about, what are your, exchange programs like at this school?" And they'll.
No, but sometimes they pick up the phone so aggressively and be like, "Oh yeah, why did you call?" And it.
You'll never see them again. They'll be It's actually crazy. We almost like crossed paths before we met in Hungary. My school, and then how was it? I think
The University of Perpignan?
Yeah, no, a U of A. There were students at University of Arkansas.
Yeah. So it was actually I mentioned my university, my summer French language course at the university in the south of France. I studied alongside a group from the University of Arkansas, which is where Amber went to university.
Yeah.
So this was I think 5 or 6 years ago now that I went. Like I said, it was all in the summer between my university years. And yeah,
Some of my people I knew of at my college went there.
to the same place.
It was like
the same place
crazy.
that I went.
So
That is
everyone's
crazy.
like, yeah,
Everyone's always
changing
connected.
each other.
Yeah, it's true. It's a small world, really. It really is. Yeah.
But to reflect back a bit on your au pair experiences, like, could you tell us your favorite memories or memories that really stuck with you?
Oh, well, I think I really appreciated the freedom that I was given. You know, my responsibility with the family wasn't very much per day. I had a car that I could drive, and I could meet up with friends in the city. And like I said, I made some American friends, as well as meeting people who were from France or Italy or Spain who were also, you know, studying. I suppose there were one of the many little day trips or little excursions to the beach or to, you know, a unique mountain village. I think those were the kinds of memories that I don't think I'll ever lose, you know.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. It was an honor to talk to you about this whole experience and your work that you are doing, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a comment. Thank you very much.